How does that look?
No, I'm not saying that. You get some sense that there's a handful of stocks.
Look at that. I mean, you could tie that to the market. Bang. Welcome back, folks, to Commercial Break. I'm Guy Adami, joined always by the good-looking, steely,
My man.
blue-eyed
Oh,
Tim
stop.
Seymour.
Stop.
Hopefully you folks are traveling well. Hopefully you're enjoying yourselves. I know I am. How you doing, Tim?
I'm good. Is that T-shirt ribbed? It almost looks like I don't know. Yeah, dude. I mean, I like what you're doing. Is that Lululemon? They watch this show.
No,
They
it's
love us.
it's it's Fruit of the Loom. I mean, I'm a huge Fruit of the Loom guy. Those, by the way, those Fruit of the Loom commercials back in the day with all the dancing fruit were tremendous. I mean, just so good. Nothing like those purple grapes, by the way.
I'm going to leave that one alone. You listening to any music this morning? What do you got? Just talk to me.
I
Anything.
did. It's funny. I always like to start the day with a little music. I got a little Bruce Springsteen done in this morning. It's funny. I actually listened for some reason. Spinal Tap came into my world over the last couple of days, so I listened to a couple of Spinal Tap songs.
I think that listening to music in the shower is one of the greatest things in the world. And the problem with that is, of course, you're either going to, wake up people in your house if you get up before they do, or there's no way to get the music in the shower without it sounding muffled because, I mean, you're just not getting a crisp sound. But, that's me.
How many companies have tried to make that radio or that portable device you can listen to music? It just doesn't happen. Maybe in some of these really geeked out houses, people have the built-in speakers in their shower and they feel like effectively, if you remember the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, they feel like Ferris singing in the shower. By the way, one of the great scenes in music history.
Yeah, Bueller is one of these movies that I think gets better with age because as 80s as it was, that's obviously the charm of it. And Matt Broderick, is it Matthew Broderick? Is it Matt Broderick? What are we doing with him?
He's a Matthew, married, by the way, to Sarah Jessica Parker, of course, of Sex and the City fame.
The gals in Sex and the City were early on the Apple craze. And they were talking about their iPhones. They were talking about this. And it's become kind of a fashion statement. What's interesting is that Apple finds itself, first of all, we're in the middle of earnings season. So it's a time when people are front and center looking at the biggest companies in the world. There was a time when Apple was not really the company that it is today. And in fact, it was just a computer company. And we thought that's all they did for a living. But in fact, Apple is in every part of our world, Guy Dom, every part.
No question. And this week in 2007, Apple actually settled a dispute, if you recall, with Apple Music, and was Apple Computer and Apple, the label for the Beatles. All those worlds were colliding. And I think finally they sort of came to an agreement that they can all live in harmony together.
So this is a case where Apple Records, which had laid claim to this, and in fact, if you think about it, I mean, I remember looking at Beatles albums, and the great thing about vinyl, by the way, is actually looking at the label, looking at the liner notes, the things that allow you, and that green, is that a Granny Smith or is that a McIntosh? What kind of apple? But it's a green apple, right?
Definitely a Granny Smith. And the green apples, by the way, for you Apple aficionados out there, they're the best ones without question. You get a good green apple, those tart, good, snapping green apples, nothing like it.
I'm going to challenge you to give me 5 different types of apple here.
Wow. Well, you got to go with Granny Smith. Of course, the McIntosh. What are they? That's it. I'm done. I mean, help me out.
All right. Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, and then the little apple is the lady apple. So why do I know so much about produce? Well, let's just say I stocked shelves in a produce market growing up, so I know my fruit. Who is bigger in their respective era, and who is more important to the world? The band, the Beatles, who created Apple Records, or Apple, the company? I mean, I know it's crazy to think about that because, in fact, Apple, the company, dominates our lives every single day.
The great band Badfinger was on the Apple label. I know you know some Badfinger songs, Day After Day, No Matter What. But let's just play this game for a second because I think the Beatles and Apple Records transcend everything. And I'm not a huge Beatle fan, but we have talked about this, and I'm going to throw it out there. If you were to list, Tim Seymour, the most accomplished musicians in the band, the Beatles, how would you list them?
It's clearly McCartney, just because I think the staying power, the commercial success, the fact that he's done it across, I think he's now in his 7th decade of relevance. So let's see, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010. Yeah, that's 7 decades, guy. I can count. And this is a guy that's been front and center. He's been around to buy music catalogs, to sell music catalogs. Anytime you're doing a tribute concert, you better have Sir Paul in attendance. But he may not have been the creative genius of the band. I don't know.
When you watch that Peter Jackson documentary, typically, historically, I've ranked them Harrison, McCartney, Lennon, Ringo. But now, having watched that and understanding the driving force that Paul McCartney was and continues to be, by the way, now for me, it's McCartney, Harrison, who I think is vastly underrated, John Lennon, who I always thought was vastly overrated, and then Ringo, who is talented, but in that foursome, he is the fourth.
I don't think we're ever going to really know about Lennon because he was taken from us too soon. And I think, obviously Lennon, in some sense, because he was so iconoclastic, really isn't the guy that you give the kind of credit that I think you probably should. But if we're talking about the Fab Four, and it's really, if you think about Apple in the world of technology, and we talk about these mega cap tech companies, I want your Fab Four there. And it's not lost on me that Apple, that was a computer company, is obviously, look, I bought Apple the stock and then sold it many times over. But when I originally heard that they were doing their iTunes thing, I was so taken by the concept that actually at some point, someone who loves music as I do, that I was going to be listening to everything digitally and they were going to control that. It's not really what happened, but they are a music company. They are an entertainment company, as are all the big four of technology. Who are they?
So, it's interesting. I'm sure everybody has their top four. Obviously, I think Apple has to be there. But I'm going to throw one at you that you probably wouldn't expect from me. But I think in theory or in retrospect or in just thinking about it, you will agree. I think Taiwan Semi, the importance of TSM cannot be understated in terms of where they are. I'll throw an NVIDIA at you in terms of the way they've transformed their company and the chips that are now seemingly in everything and all the world going forward, what they mean to the metaverse, gaming, auto, autonomous driving, all those different things. And I think the obvious one is the importance of Microsoft, which again, I think is the most important company in the world.
I can't not have Google in there, and I can't not have Amazon in there. And I think about media companies, and look, who would have thought that Amazon was going to be, the people that brought me my first, carton of toilet paper to my house. You say you want a revolution, guy? I think it's actually probably going on in Silicon Valley, whether we want it or not.
You say you want toilet paper. Are you going Scott's or Charmin or some sort of generic brand?
Well, look, on our way out of here, obviously this conversation has gone into the gutter, but let's just be clear. If I come home with the wrong toilet paper in my house, I'm asked to leave. All right. So don't be skimping. Don't be skimping on the TP guy, Adami. And look, don't get lost as you're milling around the airport looking for something to do. In fact, sit yourself down and watch yourself some commercial break every night around 6 p.m.
No question. Listen, on November 13th, Felix Unger was asked to remove himself from his place of residence. We'll never know why, Tim. I hope that doesn't happen to you. But he is Tim Seymour. I'm Guy Adami. Collectively, Tim, we're
not the odd couple. We are commercial break.